Okay, so today's video is all about a healthy energy source that's quick to make and available that you can just grab out of the fridge and pop in your mouth when that sugar craving hits, but you don't grab a chocolate. So I'm going to show you 3 different ways to make energy date balls that my family absolutely adores. And like I said, I try and make them in the beginning of the week so they are available in the fridge instead of grabbing a sweet or a chocolate. This is our go-to for a quick energy craving, sugar craving source. So the main ingredients in it is obviously dates. So I just use Cup of Medjool dates that I soak in water. And then you can either use oats, which is going to be in 2 of my recipes, or you can use nuts. So those are going to be the ingredients that you use for it's the base, and then the rest is up to your imagination. What I love about these dates is once you use the basis of it, you can basically add into it whatever you have available in the house or whatever you feel like. You can make them more protein dense by adding a protein powder or more nuts, or you can go for a more fruity, sweet kind of vibe if that is what you're looking for. So this is going to be the 3 balls that we do. We are going to do a chocolate nutty date ball that's got some cacao and nuts in it. Then we're going to do a lemony, zesty cranberry one. And lastly, we're doing a nut one that's got no oats in it, a nut one with some tahini, a bit of salt, and that's just a completely different flavor to the rest of those 2. And without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so for our first recipe, 2 recipes, this is going to be the base of our recipes. It is 1 cup of oats and 1 cup of dates that's been soaked. So we're going to start by just adding all of this into a food processor or blender. So we're going to start with the oats and add that. And then we're going to add the cup of dates. We're going to need a 1/4 cup of shredded coconut, 1/2 cup of dried cranberries, and then we're going to zest 1 lemon. You're going to combine all of that as you've seen into some type of food processor. I'm going to use my Thermomix, but feel absolutely free to use a blender or anything that you've got at hand. So we're just zesting the lemon. And this recipe has got a citrusy freshness to it that is absolutely adored by my family. Okay, so now we're just going to pulse this all together until it's a nice sticky consistency that we're then going to roll into little date balls. Alright, so we're just pulsing this all together. See, this is a nice sticky consistency that we're just going to roll into little balls now. Okay, so you're just going to take some out of the container, squash it all together, and then just form a little ball. So you're just going to keep on rolling and squeezing the little balls together to help stick them together. And then you can decide on the size that you want. I don't want them too big as I consider this a snack, and I don't want to have a 2 calorie dense snack most of the time. Okay, so this recipe yields about between 12 and 16 balls, depending on how big you decide to make the little balls. And here's our first recipe, all done and dusted. I'm going to transfer that into an airtight container, and then we'll start with recipe number 2. Okay, so for our second recipe, we're once again going to start with a base, which is a cup of oats and a cup of soaked dates that we're going to add into the food processor or the Thermomix in my case. Next, we're going to add 1/2 cup of peanut butter. This is just a natural peanut butter that I'm just adding in here. You can basically use any nut butter. I've made this with an almond butter before and a cashew butter, so I just had peanut butter at hand today. Then we're going to add 1/2 cup of shredded coconut, 3 tablespoons of a good cacao powder, any nut that you want to. I just have some almonds that I'm going to add in here. Then once again, we're just going to blend or pulse this all together, and then we're once again going to form some date balls. And then this is approximately the consistency that you're looking at. Okay, so you're once again just going to take a little bit in your hand, squeeze them together so the consistency and ingredients stick together and form the desired size of the date ball that you want. This is a very nice chocolatey, chewy one and is my youngest daughter's favorite by far. Okay, so this one yields a little bit more because the volumes of the ingredients that you add is a bit more. So we got about 20 to 21 date balls out of this recipe. Again, it's extremely dependent on how big you roll them and if you want a bite size or a more substantial snack. Okay, so for our last recipe, the base changes a little bit. So instead of oats, we're using a nut. So I'm just using some cashew nuts that I roasted, maybe a little bit too long, but they're still yummy. And then still dates as well. Guys, I just have to stop. I dropped some oats on the floor, which made Lizzie super excited. And now she's been staring at the floor for probably 20 minutes, hoping I will drop something else, and now she's scratching me. So say hello. Say hello. You're not getting anything out, you fatty. No. No. So she's in her pajamas because it's really cold here. And she's bathed and she's ready for bed, but she's convinced she's going to get another little snacky. But you're not. You are not. Right, let me go wash my hands and continue. Okay, so let's continue. Like I said, we're changing the basis a little bit. So the dates kind of stay the same. It's just over a cup, so between 185 and 200 grams of dates that I've also soaked. Then there is between 90 and 100 grams of nuts. And then the rest of the recipe is made of some coconut once again. 3 tablespoons of coconut. 1 tablespoon of coconut oil that I just put in the microwave to melt a bit. A pinch of salt. And then we're going to just add some tahini, which is a nice different taste and texture. So this is homemade, it's a little bit, it's been in the fridge, it's not as runny, but it's perfect. And I'm just going to add a whole tablespoon of tahini in here. And like all the other recipes, we're just going to pulse this till we get to the desired consistency, and then we're going to roll balls. Okay, so we're just going to pulse this. The Thermomix is a really strong and powerful blender and food processor. So if you have a weaker food processor, I would recommend that you actually blend or crush up the nuts before you add the rest of it. But I've done this in the Thermomix and it's absolutely no problem to add it all in together. Okay, so this is a perfect consistency, as you can see. This one is a little bit more sticky than the other ones. If that bothers you, what I suggest is pop it in the fridge for about 10 minutes. That seems to harden and stiffen it up a little bit, and then it's a bit easier to roll, but I think this will actually be perfect. So I'm just going to start rolling some balls. Once again, you're just kind of pressing them and sticking them all together, and then you roll a little ball, and you just continue until you used all the ingredients. Okay, so this one yields a little bit less. Between 12 and 14 balls is what I usually get out of this one, but I would really strongly recommend that you try this one. It is a delicious, different taste, especially with the tahini in it, and yeah, it's a firm favorite. So try this one, and we're done. So we're just going to transfer this one into an airtight container as well. All of these balls can be refrigerated for between 1 and 2 weeks. They never last 2 weeks in my house, but they can also be frozen. Like I've frozen all of them, and then I'll just whip some out for school, and that can be anything from between 3 and 6 months. Once again, they've never lasted 6 months in our house. Alright, try and make them. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I hope you enjoyed it and try all of these recipes.